Hello, my friends. This is Jacob Israel, and you are tuning in to another live extraordinary show. I'm so happy that everybody joined me last minute. I'm sorry that there wasn't a little more notification, but this was something that I needed to get out there quickly. It's going to be a shorter show, but a very significant one. Very significant indeed. Take a look at that thumbnail. Is there any symbolism to The Rock and Kevin Hart smacking each other down with a tortilla? You can let me know right now in the live chat, as I am there with all of you, excited to see what is going to happen. Do me a favor and hit that like and let me know that you hear me okay, because we have a lot to get into today. This is very significant. Have you heard about this tortilla challenge? Have you heard about it? You smack each other in the face with a tortilla while holding water in your mouth, and whoever spits out the water, well, you lose. Have you heard about this challenge? Because The Rock and Kevin Hart just did this, and it went viral. Thank you, Sonny, for telling me that you hear me loud and clear. I appreciate that. Believe it or not, as crazy as this sounds, it is a very symbolic show. It's kind of like God is spelling everything out in such a way that it's almost impossible to get away with the missing the symbolism of it. So this is the tortilla challenge. If you haven't heard about it, if you've been living under a rock and you don't watch TikTok, I don't watch TikTok, but thankfully my oldest son Noah, who's 21, who by the way just got a job at a winery. How crazy is that? After the flood, Noah plants a vineyard. And now my son Noah, after the flood of the virus of the crown, is going to work at a vineyard. I think it's cool. But the tortilla slap challenge at its core is basically you put some water in your mouth and you slap each other in the face with a tortilla to see who's going to spit it out. I know you're thinking, this isn't significant. Why on earth would you be talking about this, Jacob? None of this matters. Well, I got another show that I'm in the middle of working on, but I had more than one person reach out to me about The Rock and Kevin Hart doing this challenge for Laugh or Die. It's a viral video right now. Michelle D'Amico was the one that first reached out to me. The slap challenge between the Hart and Rock is deeply symbolic. It's time. Sent me an email about this as well, which I'm very happy that she sent this to me because I probably would have left it alone. I saw the email and I knew about the challenge, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I didn't think it was that important until I saw that she also posted something on Facebook. So then I say, okay, well, Lord, why are you showing this to me? And it reminded me of the story of Moses and the rock that he struck to get water out. This is crazy. Because it's funny, it takes me a minute or two to catch on. So basically, Michelle sent me this, and it was somebody else's post. Last name symbolic of the soul, Rock versus Hart are at war. And a quote, I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give them a heart of flesh. Okay. Jessica wants to play whoever Jessica is, but there's more. There's more to this story. Kevin Hart, his last name Hart, is not spelled like the heart, spelled H-R-T, which is actually a stag, a male deer, associated with Artemis. We know we got the Artemis program going on, right? Let me put a pin in that. Let me move along a little bit quicker. Let me show you what I wrote to Michelle at the gym today. I had to re-edit this because at first I wrote big time dude, but Michelle clearly is a dudette. Most likely this will be my next live stream because I really did feel at the time that it was something that was important. I said, we'll see what else awaits. Tortillas, this is important. They were slapping each other in the face with a tortilla. Now, why is a tortilla important? A tortilla is bread that is not leavened. Do you remember Jesus said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, stuff that puffs you up, vanity, nonsense, wickedness. Leaven is not a good thing. Unleavened bread, on the other hand, very symbolic of sincerity and truth. So I just basically wrote tortillas are made from grains, either wheat or flour, or corn. Corn's all over the news. Bread is also made from grain ground into flour. The difference is that tortillas are unleavened. Bread is leavened, which means the yeast is added to it to make the dough to rise. We don't have any yeast in a tortilla. So when Kevin Hart is slapping The Rock with a tortilla in the face, which in Scripture, the face is knowing God. It's understanding God. So it's your understanding of the things of God. It's very symbolic. To be slapped in the face with unleavened bread means you're slapped in the face with sincerity and truth. This is a big deal. So I looked a little bit deeper. Why? Because I was just talking about The Rock on my last show. There's a picture of Naughtius Maximus Elon Musk, who after I did my show about the Stone of Destiny, posted this about The Rock holding The Rock and loving The Rock. The Rock is a symbol of Christ, the Rock of Christ. So, here's the thing, and this is why it's important for all of us today, because this is very symbolic of what's going on today. Today, we are being set free from Egypt. That's what's going on. It's crazy, I know. And it's going to get crazier, so get ready. There were a lot of plagues that came upon Egypt. Israel, when at first, like Joseph brought Israel into Egypt and saved Egypt and was like revered, and the God of Joseph was like something that mattered. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, and the God of Christ was revered back then. But then after many years, they'd forgotten about that. And Israel, they became slaves in Egypt. They started to worship the gods of Egypt, pretty much like we do today. Lost. They were lost and they were slaves in a system. And that system was getting more and more and more cruel. Much like I talked about on the channel before the virus of the crown hit, where I said the plagues of Egypt were coming. And how when the first plague came, did Pharaoh say, hey, you know what? Okay, go. You worship your God. We're going to give you some freedoms. No, what they did was they made things harder. Pharaoh said to Israel, from now on, because the plagues had come, the Nile had turned to blood, and there were all these little things that happened. God was trying to show the system that it needed to respect and revere the creator of all things. Pharaoh decided that he was God himself, much like the rulers today. So when the first thing happened, what did they do? Did they set Israel free? No, they made things harder. They said, from now on, you're not just going to have to build, you're going to have to find the materials to build on your own. They made things harder, kind of like they did with us. They said, oh, well, now you have to have this and you have to have that. You got to wear this and you got to keep that distance. They made things harder. And harder and harder and harder and harder. People lost their jobs. People lost their livelihoods. People did things that they didn't want to do because they were so reliant on the system that they thought that if they didn't do it, they'd be lost. So sad. This is what happened when Moses took Israel out of Egypt. When they were finally set free to go on their own, which I think may be coming for all of us, where we may end up uncoupling ourselves from this system completely, they were unhappy. People were unhappy. They were like, what are we going to do? We don't have any food. We don't have any this. We don't have any that. We got no water. They were in the wilderness. They were reliant on Egypt and Egypt's system. And now, since they were free, they didn't know who to trust in. They didn't really trust in God. They didn't really believe in God. So this is what happens. Moses is told, because everybody's begging for, give us some water. We want some water. This is in Exodus 17. All the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin. It's really Zin, but for some reason, this translation says sin. But think about it. Journeyed from the wilderness of sin. We have been foolish people for a long time in a wilderness of sin for sure. All of us. And after their journeys, according to the commandment of the Lord, they pitched in this place and there was no water. Nothing for them to drink. So the people, they gave Moses a hard time. They said, give us water that we may drink. Come on, Moses, you let us out of here. Why are you going to allow us to do this? Why are you tempting the Lord? And the people thirsted for the water, and the people murmured against Moses, and they said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us out of Egypt to kill us and our children? Why do we listen to you about this God thing? Now look at us. We don't have our little barcode. We don't have our little chip. We can't buy the food. We can't get the ration of water, which could be coming. Who knows? And Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, what am I going to do with these people? With these people, Lord. They don't trust in you. They're about to kill me, stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people. Take them before the elders of Israel. He wants to show people that God is in control. He said, this is what you got to do. And your rod, by the way, the rod is an authority. It is a testimony that is given. In this case, it's a literal rod. The same rod that he smote the river and the waters fled, he said, behold, I will stand before there upon the rock of Horeb, and you shall smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the place Massah and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, because they tempted the Lord, saying, is God really with us? With all the dates of man, with all the hard times that we're facing, is God really here? So God proves himself. He proves himself through the messenger. Moses strikes the rock. The rock gives water. Now, what's weird about this is that rock, according to Scripture, is actually a picture of Christ. We learn this in the, I think it's the book of Corinthians, that the rock that followed them is Christ. But later, this same story happens again. The people want water again. They're not trusting in God again. So God tells his servant, he says, this time I want you to speak to the rock. I don't want you to hit the rock in the face with a tortilla. If you want water to come out of the rock, now here's the reason why I'm doing this. The whole challenge is there's water in the rock that needs to come out of the rock to win the game. All right? Let me, you know what? Let me just show you this. Let me show you this. Let me transition over, and I'm going to play it down so that you know that I'm not messing around. Okay, so here it is. This is it. So he's drinking the water. This is the tortilla challenge. They're making jokes, and of course, yes, I was the writer for The Rock. He was one of my one of the people that I wrote for when I was at the WWE. So here's Kevin Hart, and he slaps him pretty hard, but no water comes out. Now he does it once. He's laughing, having a good old time. There's Black Adam, right? You got that movie coming out. Very symbolic. All of this stuff is so symbolic that I had to talk about it. Whether or not you get something out of it, it's up to you. It's up to you. But here he goes, number 2. Second time. He's going to strike the rock a second time, just like Moses tried to strike the rock a second time. But no water came out. Why is that? It's interesting. But Kevin Hart, on the other hand, he spits up no problem, and he loses. Very symbolic stuff going on. Really interesting. This is like straight from the pages of the Bible. Who here in the comment section that's watching right now? We don't have that many people watching. I know it was a short show. Do me a favor, if you hit the like button, it'll be helpful and get more people here. But who here knows the story of Moses and the rock? Who here makes the correlation between this viral video, something like almost 4 million views, and the reality of what's going on spiritually? Delon says this is incredible discernment. I don't know if it's incredible. But there is something to this. There has to be. There has to be. And why wouldn't there be when you have all of this stuff going down? So here is Numbers. This is chapter 20. Now, this is the problem, right? Because, see, they weren't listening and they weren't believing God. They really, they thought, oh, well, I guess it makes sense. There's a rock there, and he hit it, and the rock, water came out of it. That I can wrap my mind around. But if we're all out in the wilderness, right, and we have this rock that's following us, by the way, that rock that followed them is the coronation stone. It's Jacob's pillow. It's a picture of Christ. And we learn this in the New Testament because the New Testament says that that rock that Moses struck was Christ. The kingdom of heaven was taken by force for a long time, but no more. Now we have to speak to the rock. Now we have to understand that God is going to do great things, and we have faith, and we can't allow people to believe that I did it. If there's a rock with me and everybody's thirsty and I hit the rock and water pours out and everybody has something to drink, they can wrap their mind around it. Oh, there was water in the rock. Jacob hit the rock. Now we're drinking it. But Jacob didn't even believe, right? Moses didn't even believe. If that was me and God was like, now speak to the rock, I'd be like, no. The last time I did it, I hit it. That's what Moses did. Guess what happened to Moses? He didn't inherit the promised land because of it. He didn't have faith. He struck the rock again. And God, of course, honors that and allows the water to pour forth. knowing full well that that's not what God instructed. So let me read this to you. Then came the children of Israel, the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin, in the first month. And the people abode in Kadesh. Kadesh or Kadesh means holy, by the way. And Miriam died there. Miriam is the same name that we get Mary from. It means man's rebellion. So in the holy place, when you're dwelling in the holy place, the rebellion dies there and is buried there. But there was no water for the congregation. They gathered themselves together unto Moses. Moses, whose name means to draw out, like drawing out something from within something, like drawing out water from a rock, or like drawing Moses out of the river that his mother placed them in when they were looking to kill all of the Hebrews under that certain age. The people chode with Moses. They gave him a hard time. They said, would God that we had died with our brethren died before the Lord. Why have you brought us up to the Lord in the wilderness, that we and our cattle should die again? And wherefore have you made us to come out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It's a place of seed, no seed, or figs, no vines, no pomegranates, and there's no water to drink. Could you imagine if things get really kooky? If there was someone who was leading you out of the destruction of Egypt, how quickly you would want to go back to your servitude and your slavery just for a couple of pomegranates or a couple of raisins or a couple of whatever, as opposed to understanding the promised land that awaits, the kingdom that awaits for you. Because you got to get out of your box. Your box, which tells you, I have a job. They tell me I got to do this. I know I shouldn't do this. But if I don't do this, I can't provide for my family. I don't maintain the position that I had. We are really slaves to the system. So this tortilla challenge is really a picture of all of us understanding that we got to do things different. Can't strike the rock to get the water out anymore. Not going to happen. You can't do it. You got to speak to it. You got to have faith. Because that was the thing. Could you imagine if you were with me and we were all so hungry and we were all so thirsty and there was a rock that was with us and I said, give us the water, and the water came out? You probably have a little more faith in God than if I went over and I hit it with a stick. Because that you could wrap your mind around. It's time for us all to come to a place where we don't need to understand that God is bigger than what we understand. We got to have faith, bigger faith, especially with the days to come. Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly onto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. They fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. Now, what is the glory of the Lord? It's the glory of the Lord to conceal a thing. And it's the honor of kings to seek out the matter. The glory of the Lord is the hidden thing. The hidden thing. The thing that's been hidden from you. So the thing that was hidden from them appeared to them. And they understood it. And the Lord spoke to them, saying, take the rod, gather the assembly, and Aaron your brother, and speak unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his, Christ's, water. And thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock, so you shall give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said to them, Hear now, you rebels, must we now fetch water out of this rock? And Moses, even though the glory of the Lord appeared to him, even though the mystery was revealed to him, and Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. But guess what happened next? The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and said, Because you believed me not, to sanctify me not in the eyes of the children of Israel. This was your chance to show them that God was real, that I was real. Therefore, you will not bring this congregation into the land I have given them. This is the water of Meribah. This is an important message for all of us today. And that's why I thought that it was important for all of us to take a look at this. I mean, you take a look at the literal meaning. Let's take a look at the literal meaning. I hope that you're all with me still. Oh, wow. You want to talk about like a timely message? And you know, it's funny, it takes a couple of promptings before I talk about these things. Remember I told you that Kiddush means holy? And he smote the rock twice, just like Kevin Hart did, and the water came out and the congregation drank. This is the water of, take a look what that means, contention, strife. This is the water you get when you strike the rock. You get the water of strife. You get the water of contention. It's a bummer, man. It's a bummer because that's not what God has planned for us. God has planned for so much more. But what was really very interesting to me was the fact that the tortilla, it's unleavened bread. That alone is very symbolic. Smacking the face of each other with unleavened bread. It's a picture of the word of the Lord coming down and waking you up. And I think that a lot of people need to understand this. Let's read this for a second. Purge out the old leaven. Leaven is what makes bread rise, by the way. That you may be a new lump as you are unleavened. You don't need to be striking no rock to prove that you're the Lord. You don't need to be striking no rock to prove to the world that you are called by the Lord. You don't need to be striking nothing because God is in charge of all things. For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrifice for us. You know what Passover is? It's where the angel of death comes and takes everybody away, but those who have the blood over the doorpost, those that were sealed with the promise, they're okay. We're going to be entering into a very interesting time where we may see a lot of stuff like this. A lot of heartbreaking stuff. Be grateful if you're counted worthy to make it through, whatever it is, in everything. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven. Now, what is old leaven? Neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness. No more malice, people. No more wickedness, people. But with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Sincerity and truth. That's what it's all about. Sincerity and truth. It's going to slap you in the face to get the water out. And what's the water? The Word of God. This is in Ephesians. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. when you're baptized, symbolic of being immersed in God's truth. This challenge, unleavened bread, slapping the face, which is your understanding, to get the water to come out, it's huge. The crazy thing is that it wasn't a battle between the Hart and Christ, which I think probably still has significant value. But the fact that his last name is Hart and it is a stag, I think that's pretty interesting, because a stag is very symbolic, especially today, because it was the hart, the stag, that was striking Christ. I think it's very symbolic because, of course, the stag is known by Artemis. Artemis is known by the stag. The stag plays a key role in the tales of the Greek Artemis and her Roman counterpart Diana. All of these things that are happening today, they're happening today, and they're insanely wonderful. And it's really kind of a picture too, believe it or not. In the Catholic Church, they say the stag is a picture of Christ. So we got so much going on with this tortilla challenge that I'm very grateful that Michelle reached out to me to talk to me about it, because we really do need to take account for what's going on today. We really do need to let go of the leaven of malice and the leaven of wickedness. And we need to really search for that truth and that sincerity that's found in all of us today. So, there you have it. Quick little show. I wanted to come out here and do it before I didn't want to put it in a bigger show. I'm grateful that you all came here. I'm grateful that you all took the time to spend some time with me. And I hope that you have the best day ever. Do me a favor, like the video, share it around, tell your friends. I know it wasn't huge and super spectacular, but it's the little things that mean the most, right? It's the little things. These are the things that we build on. These are the things that mean so, so much. It's a challenge going around, the tortilla challenge. I have tortillas downstairs, carb balanced tortillas. I may do it with the family. It might be fun. Something to do. But when you do it, understand there's a deeper meaning. What is that water we're holding in our mouth? It's the Word of God. And what is it going to take to get that water to come out? I'm going to be slapped in the face with some unleavened bread, I guess. All right, listen, I love you all. I hope you have the best day ever, and I'll talk to you soon. Got a big show coming tomorrow. Look for it. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. And I thank you for sharing, liking, subscribing, getting yourself all of the stuff that's in the description of the video. Teach Me the Truth, Uranus is a planet, all of these things. It's helpful to the channel. Do me a favor, make sure that you are still subscribed. This is a big deal. Even if you checked yesterday, check again today, because they may unsubscribe you. I don't know why it is, but it happens to a lot of people. I'm not saying they're targeting me, but I'm saying it happens. So make sure you're subscribed. Check the bell for notifications, and I'll talk to you soon. I love you all. I hope this little video helped you, and we will see each other again not too long from right now. Bye-bye.